I'm your host Tracy, and I'm here on location at the Springfield Psychiatric Hospital in Sykesville to discuss the history of these types of hospitals and the dark era of mental illness. In the 18th century, an estate was transformed into one of the largest psychiatric hospitals in the East Coast. The first patients arrived here in 1896 and were accommodated in renovated farmhouses while the permanent buildings were being constructed. Unlike other asylums in the past, Springfield adopted a cottage plan. This approach was clusters of buildings which was designed with the intent to create more of a humane and supportive environment. By the late 1940s, the hospital population exceeded over 3,000 patients, later 4,000 patients, making it the largest psychiatric facility on the East Coast at the time. The hospital functioned as a self-sufficient community with its own railroad, power plant, firehouse, and a large farm that provided food for both patients and staff. In 1949, the Baltimore Sun published a series of articles called Maryland Shame, which exposed overcrowding, deplorable conditions. This led to an increase in state funding for staffing and construction of new and more modern buildings during the 1950s. The use of psychotropic medications by the 1970s made a shift toward community-based care and deinstitutionalization. Springfield Hospital Center remains an active facility today. Many of its buildings are historic on the public National Registry for Historic Places. Mental illness has always existed, but the way society understands and identifies in treatment has changed drastically over the last 150 years. These asylums were not to address struggles, but instead to hide patients away from society. Being placed in an institution was like a death sentence to any chance of a normal life. Over the years, the doctors tried many different types of alleged therapies on these wards: ice baths, heavy restraints, isolation cells, radiation therapy, lobotomies, as well as the highly favored electroshock therapy were just some of their methods. Many of these therapies have been proven to be ineffective that were used during the 1970s. The first antipsychotic drugs were created in the 1950s. Thorazine was a favorite choice, but this caused something commonly known as the Thorazine shuffle, as they continuously paced the halls in zombie-like trances. The patients had no quality of life. During the 1960s and 70s, drugs were created with much less severe side effects. In the early 1980s, I became interested in finding my father's relatives. Unfortunately, he had been an orphan, so he had no family history. So I dove into the archives at the historic Enoch Pratt Library and found my grandmother Amelia. But unfortunately, in 1948, at 26 years of age, she was diagnosed with schizophrenia and placed into Springfield Psychiatric Hospital. She was locked away there for 24 years. Records show she was released in 1972 and died only 2 short years later, and is buried in Reisterstown with only a numbered block for a headstone. The 24 years my grandmother spent here, I can only imagine the barbaric treatments and how she would have been mistreated on the asylum wards, and what poor quality of life she must have had. Thank you for joining me in this walk through the past of the history of the dark era of mental illness and letting me share my story, remembering my grandmother, Amelia.